You survived the divorce. You told yourself the hard part was over, but somewhere in your next relationship, maybe 3 months in, maybe a year in, you felt it again. The same tightness in your chest, that same silence where honesty should have been, that same feeling of shrinking yourself just to keep the peace. And a thought creeps in that you didn't want to admit. That feels familiar. Not because the woman was the same. She wasn't. But because something in you had not changed yet. So today, we are talking about that directly. Because the divorce can end the relationship, it doesn't automatically end the pattern that were living inside you the whole time. Few years ago, there was a man with foundation beneath him can build almost anything. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, this is where we talk about what actually happens inside a man's head after a divorce. If you have been here before, good to have you back. Today we are talking about why you might be repeating the same relationship mistake and what it actually takes to stop. After a divorce, most men build a story to survive the pain. It usually sounds something like this: I have just picked the wrong person. Next time will be different. I know exactly what I don't want anymore. I have learned my lesson. And there is real comfort in that story. It puts the ending behind you and the future ahead of you, clean and simple. But here is the part nobody tells you. Knowing what went wrong is not the same as understanding why you were part of it. You can recite every mistake she made in vivid details and still walk into the next relationship carrying the exact same blind spots because you never turn the question around on yourself. Not what did she do to me, but what did I tolerate, avoid, chase, or ignore, and why? Picture a man. We call him Mark, though it could be any of us. Mark got divorced, he grieved, he rebuilt. 18 months later, he met someone new, and it feels like a fresh start. No baggage, no history, just possibilities. Then slowly, familiar shapes start to appear. He noticed a red flag and talked himself out of seeing it because he wants this one to work so badly. When conflict shows up, he goes quiet instead of speaking honestly. The same quiet that used to fill his old house for days at a time. He starts over-giving, over-fixing, over-providing, quietly hoping that if he does more, it will finally be enough. None of this makes Max weak. It makes him human. We don't repeat what is healthy. We repeat what is familiar. And for a lot of men, familiar was never taught to feel safe. It was just taught to feel normal. That is a trap. Familiar and healthy can look identical from the inside until you are standing in the same place again, wondering how you got there. Let's be clear about something important, because this is where a lot of men get this message twisted. If your ex-wife was unfaithful, manipulative, controlling, or abusive, that is not on you. Full stop. Nothing here asks you to take responsibility for someone else's choices. And no divorce happened because both people failed equally. Sometimes one person simply did the damage. But inside, even the most one-sided ending, there is almost always a version of you that tolerated more than you should have, feared more than you admitted, or avoided a conversation that needed to happen. Owning that isn't self-blame. It is the only way to make sure it doesn't happen again. Not because you were responsible for our behavior, but because you are responsible for what you accept, ignore, and repeat. We'll be back after this. Alright, right, we are back. Healing was never really about getting over her. Healing is becoming a man who no longer needs the same unhealthy dynamics to feel loved, wanted, or secured. That is a different project entirely, and it is the one most men skip because it is harder than moving on. It requires looking inward without flinching. So ask yourself honestly in the quiet, what did I repeatedly tolerate? What did I repeatedly avoid? What kind of behavior did I mistake for love? What did I ignore because I was afraid of losing her? What did I become in that relationship? What part of me disappeared while I was trying to keep it alive? And the one that mattered most, what has to change in me before I let someone new in? These aren't questions with easy answers. Some of them will stink. Sit with them anyway. That stink is usually the sound of truth landing somewhere it needed to land for a long time. Here is what I need you to hear. Repeating a pattern does not mean you are doomed to repeat your past. It means there is a pattern, and patterns can be understood and patterns can be changed. That is the old truth. You don't need to become a perfect person before you love again. Nobody gets that version of themselves ready in time anyway. What you need is to become a conscious one, a man who can spot an healthy dynamic earlier, who says the hard thing before resentment builds, who set a boundary instead of swallowing another disappointment, who chooses his next relationship from clarity instead of loneliness. That man isn't unreachable. You are already closer to him than you think, just by asking this question instead of avoiding them. Your divorce ended one chapter, but rebuilding was never about her or the next woman proving anything to anyone who doubted you. Rebuilding is about deciding deliberately who you become in the next chapter before you hand the pen to someone else again. If you have been walking through these pieces like this one by one, the pattern, the self-honesty, the rebuilding, that is exactly what I built the Rebuilt Man for. It is my guide for rebuilding your life after a relationship breakup or divorce, and it works through moments just like this one. The link in the description. Go take a look. If this made you think about a pattern you are still carrying, hit the like button right now. It helps this reach the next guy still standing where you were. Subscribe so you don't miss what is coming next, and send to the man you know is already telling himself next time will be different. Drop a comment. What is a pattern you are only now starting to notice? Until next time, the next chapter is still unwritten. Make sure it is actually yours.